They just built a runway through my farm without even knocking on my door. And I swear to you, I woke up this morning to the sound of bulldozers tearing up my cornfield, 30 acres of it, gone like it was nothing but a patch of weeds. I'm standing there in my old work boots, coffee cup shaking in my hand, and there's this woman, Becky, Collins, slick back hair, too much perfume, suit that probably cost more than my pickup, talking at me like she's the Queen of Georgia, waving a stack of permits in my face, and explaining this exciting community aviation project like I'm supposed to be grateful for the privilege of watching my land disappear under concrete. You ever see someone so sure of themselves you just want to let them keep talking, just to see how deep a hole they'll dig? That was Becky, with her HOA cronies behind her, grinning like they'd already won. And if you're sitting there thinking, no way, that can't happen, you don't know HOAs the way I do. Let me back up a sec, because the real show started the moment she asked me if I even understood modern development. That's when I realized she had absolutely no clue who she was messing with. 40 years I spent long before I retired to this quiet farm, building airports, designing runways, and writing federal regulations these people couldn't read with a dictionary in both hands. And the look on her face when I started rattling off FAA order numbers, environmental impact assessments, approach angle restrictions, like I just started reciting ancient Greek, but I was enjoying every second. She started off so smug, so sure, until I pointed out that her permits didn't even have the right signature formats, and her official county stamps. I could have done better with a potato and some red ink. But it wasn't just her. There was a whole cast of characters out there, each one playing a part in this circus. Danny, her nephew, looked like he was about to lose his lunch every time someone mentioned federal regulations. Lena, my neighbor from 3 parcels over, taking notes with a precision that screamed former law enforcement, and trust me, she saw everything. Gregory, Becky's husband, always sweating, deflecting questions with my wife handles all the details. It was like watching a reality show, but the stakes were my land, my livelihood, my home. It's funny, the more Becky talked, the more I realized she knew way too much about my property. She referenced drainage systems, boundaries, even a row of oaks I planted in '87. That's not something you pick up from Google Earth. I caught her engineer fumbling a technical term about approach vectors, so I corrected him flat out. Precise, no, well, maybe just gave him the regulation, the angle, the obstacle clearance, and the clause from memory. That's not the sort of thing a simple farmer is supposed to know, and I could feel the crowd shifting just a little, like maybe this wasn't going to be as easy for Becky as she thought. Still, the bulldozers didn't stop. Every morning, they pushed further, and I started noticing things construction happening at night, documents left out in the open, work crews in areas that should have been off limits. So I did what anyone with a background like mine does. I documented everything. Equipment serials, contractor plates, timelines. I moved quiet and careful, checking for cameras, staying out of light. And I wasn't the only one. Lena, from her kitchen window, logging worker shifts, equipment movements, license plates, and cross-referencing all of it with county permits. She may have been retired, but she hadn't forgotten how to build a case. The real twist, though, Becky wasn't just running a rogue construction project, she was orchestrating fraud. Exclusive parties for wealthy families, big deposits for private aviation access, architectural models that would make your head spin. She played both sides, pitching investors with promises of sky-high returns, while bulldozing my land and selling the improvements as community benefits. Only thing was, the improvements were paid for by HOA funds that never seemed to reach their intended projects, siphoned off through shell companies with addresses that led to empty lots and abandoned warehouses. It got uglier. Elderly neighbors pressured to sell their land for a fraction of its worth. Permits rubber-stamped by county officials who suddenly had new cars or vacations coincidentally timed with business trips. Becky had the local system locked down until the evidence piled up so high that not even her best connections could sweep it away. But you want to know the part that really made the hair on my neck stand up? Someone was watching me, too. Black sedan, engine idling late at night while I collected evidence. Camera flashes, phone calls, people who shouldn't know my name suddenly asking questions about my past. Turns out, the deeper I dug, the more dangerous it got. But it didn't matter, I wasn't letting her win. The town meeting was where it all came to a head. Place was packed, neighbors, investors, local news crews. Becky strutted up to the podium, started her speech about progress, community growth, opportunity. I let her talk, then I took the floor, brought out my slides, my technical diagrams, every regulation and violation, laid out plain as day. Runway width is substandard by FAA 150 divided by 5,300 minus 13A. Approach angles violate Class C airspace. Environmental impact unassessed. Funds misappropriated. You could hear a pin drop. Phones came out, people started recording, and before the night was over, the whole thing had gone viral. Who is this guy? That's what everyone was asking. Becky tried to dismiss me. What are your qualifications, Mr. Robinson? But by then, even her own supporters were starting to get nervous. Then came the real bombshell. Lena revealed she'd been a white-collar crime investigator for 30 years, had taken down embezzlers, fraudsters, politicians. She'd been building the case alongside me the whole time, cross-referencing everything, tying loose ends, preparing it for federal review. And just when Becky thought she could crush me with a lawsuit or restraining order here, a slander charge there, I handed off our case file to a contact in D.C. old friend. You could say, within a week, black SUVs, federal agents, badges. Becky went pale as chalk. The feds shut down the site on the spot, runway half-finished, equipment impounded, accounts frozen. Agent Harris stood up in front of the whole town and thanked me for my consultation. Call me Director Robinson. In front of everyone, yeah, that happened. Becky stammered, Director what? And the whole room finally realized the truth. The farmer they'd underestimated had been the director of the Federal Aviation Administration for decades. The very person responsible for the regulations she'd tried to sidestep. Becky and her cronies were arrested for fraud, bribery, elder abuse. Her assets seized, her political friends testifying for lighter sentences. Every penny stolen from HOA funds returned. Every investor refunded with interest. Danny, who finally stood up and handed over audio recordings and contracts, got a federal commendation and a scholarship for whistleblowing. Lena, recognized for her investigative work, was honored by the Attorney General herself. And the community got their land, their dignity, and their peace back. Sometimes the justice system actually works, you know? Sometimes the person you think is powerless is exactly the one you shouldn't cross. I went back to my farm, yeah, what's left of it trusted, protected by federal law, knowing the land would be safe for vultures like Becky for a long time. But here's the kicker, and maybe it's what matters most. As the dust settled, the town split, lines redrawn, some folks still clung to the idea that Becky was a visionary held back by old ways, while others saw her for what she was. And me? I just wanted a quiet sunrise over my cornfield again. What do you think was justice served? Or did it go too far? Did I do the right thing standing up to the HOA? Or should I have just let progress run its course? Drop your take in the comments. Was it worth it? Is there ever a right time to fight back? Hit that subscribe, smash the like, and tell Mew Hat what you have done if they build a runway through your land.